just peaceful life and the way I treat people and the way I act towards people. And then spiritual, I guess just trying to struggle with how, what's out there, who's out there, and
yeah. Before let me ask you, so which one is the most challenging?
the physical one, yeah, material probably used to be, but if there's no money, then there's no material, you know. But the physical is probably the most, and then the psychological, spiritual not so much, but those two.
Yeah.
With me, I actually wrote about the different desires, such as the desire of the senses, desire of the desire to become, the desire to get rid of, and I wrote about how the desire, my biggest struggle is the desire of the senses, because that's what gives you the quickest satisfaction. Good music, good food, that's instant gratification. Not even, but I wrote about that, just the different sufferings from desire and attachments.
So anything wrong with that kind of desire? Is that question of pleasure? Anything wrong?
It is very distracting.
Why?
Because, well, prime example is when I'm working on homework and a good song comes on, and I'm no longer working on homework, I'm listening to the song. Then it's the next song comes on, and it's like, I like this song too. Next thing you know, it's an hour later, and I still haven't worked on my homework at all.
Wow, that's great. And how about others? What's the more challenge? What do you think?
Mine's my spiritual. I come from a Christian home and a Christian background, and sometimes it's hard to stick with my beliefs with all the other distractions that the world gives you.
How about you? Which one is the more challenging?
I think the psychological part is the root of everything. It's probably the root of the craving for material things, and then how you're viewing your physical pain. So I would say the psychological is the most fundamental part of.
What do you think?
Probably materials. I just feel like we're kind of like conditioned to be competitive in our culture and like always to want more or compare ourselves to what everyone else has.
How about you?
Probably physical and material. A lot of material things.
Okay, let me move down here first, and then we'll come back to this one. Aaron, what do you have this one?
I read about the article that was on the thing about the Buddhism as examined as a form of psychology. And it talks about the conditioning of sort of desire and the pacing of it, and about how I would sort of could set yourself up for either success or failure based on what you desired and what you expected the outcomes to be. And since it was, and so it was sort of tied in with the first noble truth about how thus suffering was omnipresent and inescapable when you were the desirer of desires.
In life, there's two sides of the coins, right? Suffering and happiness. You understand that? Like, dislike, pleasure, displeasure, and so forth. You understand that? So when the Buddha mentioned about suffering, this is another side of it is happiness. And let me give you this idea first, this analogy first. Suppose that you have a student, right? Go to use this doctor. What is the first thing that your doctor will say to you?
What have you been eating?
Yeah. Right? So you recognize, either you recognize or your doctor recognize you have that kind of illness or sickness, right? The first one, is that right? Suffering. And second one, he asks you what kind of food you have in, right?
Yeah.
You may eat wrong food or spoiled food, or so then the cause is suffering. The reason why you suffer, right? And you may walk away from him without paying the pennies if he doesn't give you any prescription. Is that right? So he said, okay, your stomach, I can help you to overcome that type of illness, right? Because things don't last forever. Things are changeable. So the last step for him to give you is the prescription. So you take that, go to Silver's, any pharmacy to buy medicine. And what happened? Can he force you to take the medicine, or you have to take by yourself?
You have to take it yourself.
No one, right? No one forced you to take that tablet except yourself. You can, later on, you can call your doctor and say, no, I still have some problem with my stomach. And he may ask you, have you taken my medicine? Up, and they say no. He blame on you. That's your problem, not his problem. So there's the Buddha. Right? He mentioned, you see that the two pair. The first pair is he point out the problems. And second one is he provide the reason why we have that kind of suffering. At first he say any kind of suffering can be changed. The other side of suffering is happiness if we know how to change. Right? So the last one is he provide a step on the path. Makes sense now? Right? So let's go back to this one here. So the reason why I put this question because I want to know about your views. Of course, you can read some materials that put online. Now, talking about physical challenge, right? We have the body. So what happened with this body? Can we live forever? No way. The reason why Siddhartha, right? He left the palace to search for the ultimate truth, right? So if he stayed back, he would be a red king, but he would be done for that his life, and that's all. Makes sense? So everyone, regardless of conditions, regardless of education, regardless of gender, we come and go. We were born, we get older, we have some kind of illness, and we be gone. That's normal. That's normal process of life. No one can escape from that. Here, the mess, right? So this is really nice, simple, and no one can escape from that, from this type of cycle, this type of cycle. So that's a challenge for our physical. That is the physical challenge for our life, and let me see here. Let me move it back. Okay, so that's a problem for physical challenge. And like some of you mentioned that you have some kind of psychological challenge. Right? We deal with our stress, anxiety, depressions, and so forth. We deal with them every moment of our life. Stress, to park the car. It's all right. We're concerned we may hit on the car, and this may create problems. Maybe with the car insurance and so forth, it's tagged, right? And so it's all kind of challenges that we need to deal with. And of course, material life, like when you go to school, to get good GPA, you have diploma so that you can get a good job. Right? Probably there's not probably any job that you may want to have. You may have gone to many interviews, right? Not once. Is that right? Have you done interview here? You right? How many you got the job or not? Not yet. Anyways,
trying.
yeah.
I said keep trying.
Keep trying, yeah, keep trying. This is other competition now out there. So again, this is all kind of suffering. And again, let me sum up. Physically, yeah, we have that kind of challenging, right? We're born, we have some kind of illness, and we get older, and we be gone. And this has happened to everyone. And sometimes we think that we live forever, but that's not the case. When we sick, we recognize us. When we get older, we recognize us. We look around our parents, grandparents, especially when we visit our relatives in nursing home, right? It could be desperate situation, right? So we don't want to, but that's reality we have to face. And mentally and psychologically, yeah, we deal with all kind of mental affliction. And of course, we deal with material life, body, and so forth. Okay, and that's and most of the times, do we satisfy with what we have? Physically, do we satisfy this body? Maybe not, right? Do we satisfy with the amount of money we have, right? The car we have, the house, the iPod, the laptop, and so forth? Maybe not, right? It's not easy to be satisfied with certain things. So, of course, when we talk about healthy competition, that's in the classroom, you see all the students, they have straight A, you better study hard to get an A like that, but you have to struggle a lot, right? You have to compete with them. I remember that when I studied at Penn State University, I took a first course, psychology course. In my class, it's huge, more than 600 students at Penn State University. This is, and the professor, the way he graded is that he took the average grade of the student, not based on ABC, not based on your grade, but based on the average of student. It makes sense? Have you encountered this kind of professor before? Yeah.
The curve.
Not the curve, but let's say if the test too hard and the score too low, based on that, and vice versa. So you have to go with the flow. Make sense? It's really challenging for me. I remember that time. I took that class and spent times as twice my HD course. It's still tough for me at that time, back in the 80s, in 1980. Anyway, so yeah, most of the time we can encounter all kinds of challenges, right? So again, that's the line. Okay, so let's just move on to the next one. Buddhist view on attachment. You have here? Is this your turn? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so what do you think about attachment?
Well, it was very, very interesting because the concept of attachment with Buddhism, from my readings, it's like people got it misunderstood. Like attachment is like not so much as okay, like okay. Let me see. Hold on, just a second. Let me rebrief myself here because you know it was like okay, attachments. It's not so much as the attachment. It's okay, like if I am attached, if I do have an attachment, and I look at it as a universal attachment, and not something that is separate. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, let's read this real quick. That'll bring it back to me. Reading about the attachments involved in the Buddhist religion was very interesting because I realized more about how attachments can be enjoyable without fear of being separated. In Buddhism, attachment doesn't mean future separation. According to the Buddhist point of view, non-attachment is exactly the opposite of separation. You need two things in order to have attachment. The thing you're attaching to and the person who's attaching. In non-attachment, on the other hand, there's unity. There's unity because there's nothing to attach to. If you have unified with the whole universe, there's nothing outside of you, so the notion of attachment becomes absurd. Because we think we have intrinsic existence within our skin, and what's outside our skin is everything else. And as a result, we go through life grabbing for one thing after another to make us feel safe or to make us feel happy. In the Buddhist religion, the Buddha taught that seeing someone and everything else. In the Buddhist religion, the Buddha taught that seeing oneself and everything else this way is a delusion. Further, it is a delusion that is the deepest cause of our unhappiness. It is because we mistakenly see ourselves as separate from everything else that we attach. It was interesting to learn that when an attachment is universal, then there is not conscious separation, meaning a person becomes one with the universe. In other words, there is in reality no attachment because we are all a part of this continuous cycle of existence. Attachments, when seen as two different objects, can cause great harm and keep a person imprisoned in the samsara and limiting that person's chances of reaching the nirvana. So, this is, I was like, okay. I mean, I think I know what that's saying. It's saying like, okay, the physical thing, but I think this attachment is more of a spiritual thing, a conscious concept. I think it has more to do with the inner self than the physical, the outer thing. But I know money and as you were just saying, money, things that we see, we desire, but we can never get enough. We get money and cars, a beautiful car, we want something better and better and better. And so it kind of takes us to a bad form of attachment, and that's what keeps us in this cycle. And we can't get out of the cycle to the samsara because of these attachments.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for pointing out. Just pinpoint this point, pinpoint unity. Okay. How about others? Do you have any idea about what's wrong with attachment? Is it healthy, unhealthy, or no? Unusual?
I would say it's unhealthy.
Unhealthy?
Yeah,
Why?
attachment.
Let's say you attach your mom, you love her.
Yeah, well, she's
Is it
going
unhealthy?
in a way because she's going to pass away eventually. So you need to have a healthy attachment. Like you have that love and adoration for her, but realizing that she will pass away.
Okay.
But it's more unhealthy if you're like attached to your favorite shirt and it gets messed up by a stain or in a fire or something, and then you're just really hurt.
How about others? What do you think? Yes?
Yeah, healthy attachment, like you said, with a mother or a parent or something, you can't be dependent on them. Like, I don't know,
You feel safe, right?
Yeah, I think of attachment like it's like a cell phone and you want to update it to the next cell phone or,
Okay.
you know, but I mean, I understand, yeah, like in a relationship way, I think it's healthy to have those relationships, but not get extremely attached, because like you said, they will die eventually, whether it be tomorrow or 20 years from now.
But still, one point in life, it will happen.
Mhm.
So when it's happened, what happened? What happened to you?
You get sad.
It's just
But some people it affects worse. Like some people get sad and they understand and they have the concept of death and they knew it was coming, so it doesn't affect them. It doesn't keep them from, you know, living their life. But some people they can't get out of bed for months or
Yeah.
like years. They're still crying like every day. So I think that's the unhealthy attachment.
we know, especially the elderly couples, right? One passed away, another one may go soon, right? Because they're close relationship.
They said like sisters, like twin sisters that die. One dies, the other one will die shortly after.
Yeah, so like, yeah, anyway, that's just real. It is common. Again, if we look in the long term, in general, somehow, in anything, if we have some kind of attachment to anything, money, or actually let me put this way, and define is wealth, sex, power, food, entertainments, and so forth. No matter what type, sex or relationship, no matter what type of things, we get stuck there. Is that right? Short term and long term. Is that right? For this one here, right? Short term and long term, and we feel secure, right? Especially when we were young, right? We feel secure when we live with our mothers, because she supports or she protects us, right? And of course, when we're getting older, when we're getting mature, so we don't need that kind of protection, right? And of course, if we still have that kind of feeling, and when she be gone, we feel hurt, right? We feel sad because we lost some things that protect someone that protect us, right? And then on the side, all of the coins, detachment here. One of my students from IU Converse, she mentioned in the reading response that we're supposed to detach, our mouth is supposed to detach from the speech. Our hands is supposed to detach from grasping. Is that detachment in Buddhist sense? No, that's not the case. You understand what they're trying to say? One thing is in one side of the coins, we attach to it. The other side of the coins, we run away of them, right? You see that? So in Buddhism, we call unity, middle ground. What's mean the unity? It's very important. So detachment here doesn't mean if we run away, that's not extreme. You understand that? So let me put this way for you to understand. Whichever thing we do, we have to be in tune with things we are doing, so that we can be successful, so that it's more meaningful. Is that right? When you listen to me, if you pay full attention, you understand what I try to explain. But if I try to explain and of course you still listen to my explanation, but you let your mind to think about what happened to your car and so forth. Understand that? If we did the distraction, right? So even when you're taking the test, you have to be unity. You have to be in unity with your test, is that right? Otherwise, you may miss the points, you may miss the questions. And in relationship too, right? If you talk with your friends, even when you go to have interview, right? You have to be in tune with the interviewer in order to understand what he or she try to say, try to ask you. Make sense? This unity is very important. It's not a sense of attachment. It's not a sense of attachment, grasping or run away. Understand? In tolerance means what? Mindfulness. That is beautiful here. You be mindful here and now. Make sense now? You see that? And we talk about that in the course. Okay, and it's pretty important word. Okay, let's move on. Let's see. No one work on nemesis. Okay, how about what do you think about expectation? What's wrong with that? Is healthy, unhealthy, or neutral? What do you think?
Neutral.
Neutral?
I think it's unhealthy.
Why?
Because, I mean, if you expect something to happen and it doesn't happen, then it makes you sad. Or if it, you expect something to happen and it does happen, it gives you, good feelings. And that kind of goes back to the attachment idea.
Why you say neutral, so?
Well, because some like I expect to like the clock to still run the same way, and I
Okay.
expect like the light to turn green eventually. It's.
Okay.
So I think it's more of like an attachment to the expectation that makes it.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I think it's the same as attachments where it can be healthy or unhealthy depending on how you handle it as a person. If you've got healthy expectations, then you understand that your expectation may or may not happen. Whereas with an unhealthy expectation, either it's got to happen or
Yeah, must, right? Should, right? I must have this. You should do this, right? And we have, that's pretty good. So again, healthy, unhealthy is dependent on how we view it, right? But most of the time, if we expect things that happen that we can handle within our power, is that right? We can try our best, right? Let's say we expect to have the class today. So even this has a problem with the weather, we try to be here, right? So as much as the expectation that we can do within our reach, within our power, within our abilities, right? But if it is too much, it is to be beyond our ability to reach, or if unforeseen things, right? We may be frustrated. Like when you come to class to take the exam, right? You expect yourself to have an A. Is that right? What happens while you do the test? You'll be nervous. Does it make sense? But if you just try your best to take the test in a calm way, it's much better. I remember when I was in college, sometimes I was so nervous that I circled first the right answer, but later on erase and the wrong answer. Is that right? It's happened to many of us because of that type of anxiety. Yeah, there is expectation too.
Would that expectation also apply to Nevada?
Nevada?
Would that
That's a
expectation?
different story.
Hmm?
A different story.
Different,
No,
okay.
no. Yes, no. Okay, about projection, when we project something or when we manipulate things, what do you think? Like the artist, right? Anyone of you here is artist? When you draw, you do, right? When you sit there, right, you imagine yourself, right? That you sit inside a forest and you draw pictures of trees and so forth, right? So what do you think? Is that good? Is healthy or what?
Yeah, I guess it depends on how you're projecting it. And I think it would be okay.
Yeah, you can.
And I guess it depends on how you're doing it, because you could be, but I mean, would it be a bad projection if you're projecting your feelings into that painting? Or
Yeah.
your thoughts and ideas about the world, because you can be painting trees, but you can be talking about communism or something, because it just depends.
Yeah. So depending upon the state of your mind. If you have positive mind, it's different from negative mind. Is that right? So if you have a positive mind, of course, you project yourself as millionaires next few years. Is that right? If you have a negative mind, well, communists will take over this country, and the government may be in debt for trillions of dollars, so forth, right? Or World War III will be happen, right? So again, this kind of projections, like this, it may bring some problems for your mind. And this relate with some kind, it relate with some